as well in this league. That was big for our guys. In spite of some of the decisions I made today, they played their off.
And Washington has knocked off the last unbeaten in the NFL, 23-17, to stay tied with the Giants for first place in the NFC East.
Good Tuesday morning. You heard that on the Team 980. And I want to give credit to one member of our team, Keyshawn J. Will and Zubin, presented by Progressive Insurance. Actually, it's not you. Huh? Normally, Key gets the pat on the back, but J. Will this morning, not only does he get the pat on the back, he gets the victory lap, because what did he tell us yesterday? Watch out for the Washington football team to spring the upset. They do it. The floor is yours. Great call, man.
No, hold
Great
on.
call.
I'm going to hate for a minute, though.
You had your moment yesterday with Kyler Murray.
Look,
you got me to call him little and cute.
You didn't call the game. You just said, watch out. See that?
No,
I know I'm messing with you.
Pittsburgh hasn't been Pittsburgh. Not having James Conner really hurts him, right? And if you look at, you force Big Ben at this stage of his career, the last 2 games, he's thrown over 50 passes. Hasn't done that throughout the regular season, the entire regular season. They're playing a different style than who they really are. And I tell you, I got 99 problems, and Chase Young is all of them. I mean, he is a beast. Their defense is a beast. I got to tell you, watching the game last night, I always thought, okay, all right, the Steelers are the least scary 11-0 team there is, because they played so many games close. They're winning games. I still think Pittsburgh will be just fine. Getting Bud Dupree, he's out for the ACL. That's going to hurt them long term. I still think they will be there at the end of the day. But this Washington football team, Key, is a team with Alex Smith. He's already got comeback player of the year stepping his foot on the field. For him to get through what he's gotten through this year, to play the way he played last night, for their defense to answer the bell the way they did last night, this is a team that will contend for the NFC East along with the New York Giants.
They will contend for the NFC East, which is interesting, right? Considering that the beginning of the season, there was so much conversation around Dwayne Haskins being the quarterback of the team and Ron Rivera switching from him and going to Kyle Allen, and then switching from Kyle Allen after he got hurt, passing over Dwayne Haskins, going for a guy that hadn't played football in 2.5 years in Alex Smith. One of the things that I would say, Washington, this is the first game for a Washington football team, and I want to say the other name so bad because it just rolls off my tongue after so many years, that the Washington football team this is the first win against a team with a winning record this season. So it goes to show you where they've been, where they've come from, and how well they're playing. This is a defensive-oriented team led by Jack Del Rio, former head coach of the Raiders and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's the defensive coordinator here. But they also was not afraid of going into Heinz Field and playing. Number of balls were dropped by the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers last night. I mentioned that many times, that they've got to catch the football. They cannot afford to have those type of mistakes. And anytime you look at it, there's a lot of pressure mounting on a team that goes 11-0. Because every time you go 11-0, you go 12-0, you go 13-0, that 16-0 is within sight. And not that the Pittsburgh Steelers were thinking about that, but it certainly was around in the air. There was conversations that was being had, whether it was in the Pittsburgh media or the national media. Big Ben, for the most part, played as well as he could play. He needed help from the other side of the ball. I think losing key members on the defense for them certainly hurt them, and it's a good thing, though, that they've lost. It's a good thing because now you can go on. Teams that have started 11-0, don't steal my note.
Go for it.
Teams that have started 11-0 have gone on. 8 of them have gone on to appear into the Super Bowl. Only 3 have won, but 8 have gone on to appear. And so it's okay to start 11-0. It's not a poo-poo thing.
I hate saying that losing a game is a good thing for a team. I think it helps Mike Tomlin get their attention. I think it's easy to become distracted and lose your sense of urgency each single week. Just like an NBA, every single game when you're winning game constantly, even when you're winning games ugly or barely winning games, you're still winning games. People are still praising you, even though they felt underrated, even though they felt underappreciated. I now think this loss before they go into next week, which is going to be a big time game. I think they play against the Bills, correct?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. Now Mike Tomlin has their attention because he's been preaching this the last couple of weeks, by the way.
Last couple things to say. I will give you one stat to match your stat, which is this is important to note that as of this morning, as of this very second, the Pittsburgh Steelers still do have the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. They do have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs with regards to the loss column as they dropped their first yesterday. And obviously the Chiefs have that loss to the Raiders. But for the moment, by virtue of a better conference record, the Steelers do have the 1 seed. The Steelers' 1 loss coming in the NFC to the Washington football team. Kansas City's 1 loss coming in conference to the Raiders. So at the moment, for the tiebreaker scenario, at this very second, Pittsburgh still does retain the number 1 seed. They've overcome a ton of adversity. Tennessee, game delayed by 3 weeks, eventually playing it, overcoming that adversity. The whole Baltimore situation from Thanksgiving night, delayed to Sunday to Tuesday to Wednesday, overcoming that adversity. Mike Tomlin and company have routinely overcome adversity, except for last night.
Different points along the journey, you get a chance to learn about yourself, who you are, what you're made of, individually and collectively, and it takes the journey to reveal that. And so, we're faced with a loss now, so we'll get an opportunity to smile in the face of it.
So we'll see what happens with the Steelers going the rest of the way. Obviously, the Bills also played on a short week. We'll talk about them a little bit later this morning. So Pittsburgh and Buffalo, who both played last night, both on the short week. They'll play on Sunday Night Football, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way. It just got a lot more interesting, didn't it?
It did. And back to Jay's point about losing in this situation is a good thing because you don't have the stress and the pressure of that 16-0 facing you. If you go 12-0, now, all of a sudden, that noise gets louder. Every week that you win, as you get closer to 16-0, that noise just gets louder and louder. And that pressure to go 16-0 is there. Even though you say to yourself in your ball club, that's not important to us, the only thing that's important is hosting or raising the Lombardi trophy at the end of the day. And, getting it out of the way, I think, is just a good thing. Because if you go 16-0 and you don't win, you and the New England Patriots, it's like, well, we went 16-0, but guess what? We didn't win.
No, I hear you. If you just look at the Ravens game and how they played, and then obviously losing Bud Dupree and how they played last night against the Washington football team, and then what they have to play in the short week on Sunday against the Bills are an explosive team. And I know we'll get into that later in the show. But that's a hell of a schedule to go through, man. That could be back-to-back losses for the Steelers.
It's interesting, though, that the Steelers would lose this football game, knowing the fact that, this is obviously when they're up 14-0, they usually close those games out.
78-1-1, I think was their record in that stadium, went up by 14 points.
Yeah, they usually close those games out. They usually go. But let's praise the Washington football team for a minute here, though. To be able to go to Alex Smith, everything that he's endured in the last couple years, and to be able to have his team in contention to win the division. Imagine if they had started him in the beginning of the season, what that would bring. And it's so interesting when and I was doing this last night, I took a step back from the Dwayne Haskins situation because I don't think Kyle Allen's good at all. There's no difference between Kyle Allen and the young Dwayne Haskins, in my opinion. Dwayne may be better than me. But when you start with a veteran like Alex Smith, I was just watching him in the pocket, delivering the football, just doing some things that a veteran quarterback with some skills is capable of doing. And it looks so much better and clean and precise, right? Opposed to some herky-jerk quarterback that's sitting back there trying to figure out who to throw the ball to. It was like Alex Smith knew his reads. He knew where to go. And it just seemed like a real football team with him at quarterback.
I'll just say this. He missed 2 seasons, 17 surgeries, had a life-threatening infection, almost had his leg amputated. He's comeback player of the year, man. It's hands down. That's over.
No doubt about it. And you could make an argument, although a weak one, that the runner-up could have been the other quarterback on the field last night,
yes.
right? Going 1-2. And to Key's point, if Kyle Allen didn't play for Ron Rivera in Carolina, there's probably no way Kyle Allen's even on the Washington football team roster. There's comfort and familiarity when you're a first-year head coach like Ron Rivera, and Kyle Allen did start hot for him and the Panthers. But at this particular point, you're right. They're going to ride this thing with Alex Smith, and it might be the best thing for Dwayne Haskins, the ultimate preparer, Alex Smith. For a young kid like Haskins to watch him and grow and learn could be a good long-term play for Washington. Be a part of the Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin Nation on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed this morning. We're asking you, who's the NFL MVP right now? Before you say this is easy, you got to take a look at Aaron Rodgers' numbers, okay? Aaron Rodgers or Mahomes. ESPN Nation presented by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back. So is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. On the way, the Bills took one more step to trying to clinch the AFC East. But that's not the team everybody in the division is talking about. That's on the way after Key has this from Indeed.
Can't believe we have a nation. KJZ, way to go. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. When you upgrade your job post, Indeed immediately delivers candidates from our resume database who